Hi, I'm Jasma. Let's make fried rice in 3 different ways. There's really not much advocating I need to do on behalf of fried rice. It checks all the boxes for a balanced meal, it's so easy and fast to put together, and it's pretty much the most flexible dish you can make. The recipes provided for all 3 kinds of fried rice in this video are designed for a single serving, so you can have a better reference on the ratio of ingredients, though I pretty much never measure anything when I'm making fried rice, so you're also welcome to change up the quantities however you want, just make sure you season accordingly. First, let's talk real quick about the rice. You can use any kind of rice you want. I prefer one that has a slightly chewier grain, but the beauty of making fried rice as a home cook is you should be able to work with virtually any kind of rice. I do think it is easier to work with a day or 2 old refrigerated rice, not only because you can skip the wait time for freshly cooked rice, but also because after rice has been refrigerated, it loses out a little bit of its moisture and the cold kind of hardens the rice. It makes it easier to break up the rice overall and avoid clumps in the final fried rice. Especially if you intend on cooking in smaller portions, I do recommend just batch cooking your rice, keeping it in the fridge, and you can use it in recipes whenever you want. However, if you are freshly cooking rice with the intention of turning it into fried rice, you don't need to intentionally put it in the refrigerator, wait overnight until it's really cold and hardened, and then cook with it. Fried rice is super straightforward, and it's not something you need to do a whole lot of prep for. Using refrigerated rice is meant for convenience because then you can use up leftover rice, but there's absolutely no reason why you need to inconvenience yourself to create the same conditions. Let's begin by making an egg fried rice. The main ingredients in this bowl are the eggs, red onion, bean curd, and some button mushrooms. Fried rice is something that comes together really quickly, so you want to have all of your ingredients all prepped and ready to go before you turn on the heat. To prep these ingredients, start by dicing up half the red onion. For the bean curd, I'm only using 1 square of it, so I'm going to dice that up into around the same size as the red onion. With the mushrooms, keep in mind that they do shrink as they cook, so I'm just cutting them right in half. I'm also using some green onions in this recipe, and you don't want to chop it up too fine or it'll kind of disappear into the rice. Lastly, we have the eggs, which you just want to mix until it's loosened up, and then we can move over to the stove. Heat up a wok, then add enough oil to it to cover the bottom. Immediately pour in the eggs and let it set just a little bit before you start stirring it around to scramble it. Once the eggs are mostly cooked, you can take it off of the heat and transfer it into a bowl. Let the wok get really hot again before adding in a little bit more oil, followed by the diced onions. Keep this moving around in the wok so nothing burns, and once it becomes fragrant, you can add in the mushrooms and the bean curd. Once everything is about 80% cooked and starting to brown, we can add in the rice. The key to a clump-free rice is you need to use the flat side of your spatula to press the rice once you've added it into your wok. By flattening the rice, you avoid breaking up the individual grains and you're able to get rid of the clumps with ease. You're also increasing the surface area the rice comes in contact with the hot wok, which dries it out a little bit and makes it looser and fluffier and better distributed throughout the rest of your dish. Once the rice is mixed through, you can add the scrambled eggs from earlier back into this, mix it around, and then season with soy sauce and a little bit of sesame oil. Mix that through, then turn off the heat and mix in the green onions. Immediately transfer this into a serving bowl. You don't want to let the green onions sit in the heat for too long, otherwise it's going to look all wilted and overcooked. And that's my take on a timeless egg fried rice. Next, I have a really colorful shrimp fried rice. In terms of main ingredients, you're going to need some shelled and deveined shrimp, frozen edamame, frozen corn, and some carrots. This one's going to require the least amount of prep, since all we have to do is peel and dice up the carrot and cut the shrimp in half. Keep in mind that the shrimp will shrink a little as it cooks, so don't cut it up too small. And before cooking, mix it up with a little bit of black pepper. Moving over to the stove, you want to heat up your wok, add in a nice amount of oil, then pour in the shrimp. This will cook really quickly, so you want to be careful not to overcook it. Stir it around, and as soon as all of the shrimp has turned pink, you can take it off the heat and transfer it into a clean bowl. There aren't any complicated techniques when it comes to fried rice, but the one thing that you need to master is learning how to cook things in stages. This is a great example since shrimp cooks really quickly, so you want to do that separately from the frozen veggies and the carrot, which naturally takes a little longer. And by doing so, you're ensuring that everything gets cooked properly, but nothing is overcooked or undercooked. Add in the frozen veggies and the carrot, along with a little bit of water. Now you only need to do this if you're using frozen veggies because this is going to thaw it out and cook it at the same time. Then once all of the water has evaporated, we can add in the rice. And when all of the rice is nicely distributed throughout, we can add the shrimp back in and season it with some oyster sauce along with a little bit of black pepper. Stir that through. The oyster sauce can take a little longer to distribute, and that's pretty much it. This is a simple one and a great recipe if you are short on time because you can utilize frozen ingredients. And lastly, we're making a golden fried rice. Once again, we're using some eggs, some boneless, skinless chicken thighs, cabbage, celery, and some asparagus. Starting with marinating the chicken thighs, I'm just adding some salt and pepper and patting that in. Feel free to go crazy with the spices if you want to. Then for the veggies, I'm just cutting everything up into relatively the same size. Then for the eggs, we're gonna have to separate the egg white from the egg yolk because we're mixing the egg yolk straight into the rice to achieve the golden fried rice look. And to enhance the yellow color and add a little extra flavor, I'm also mixing in some ground turmeric. Lastly, you just wanna lightly mix the egg whites to loosen it up. Now onto the stove, in your heated wok, add a little bit of oil, then carefully place in the chicken thighs. Let this cook on medium heat for roughly 3 minutes on each side until it's golden brown. Then take it off the heat and transfer the chicken onto a cutting board, and we're gonna dice it up into nice and big chunks. You can also cut up the chicken before you cook it, but I prefer this method because you end up with a much more juicy and tender chicken thigh. Now back to the stove, turn the heat back on, let the wok get really hot, and scramble the egg whites. Something I don't hear talked a lot about with fried rice is how easy it is to go overboard with the amount of oil you use. Fried rice has the potential to be really healthy since you're able to pack so many ingredients into one bowl, but that gets canceled out if you aren't conscious of how much oil you're using when you're actually cooking it. In this case, we have some of the leftover rendered chicken fat as well as the oil that we used to pan fry the chicken, so we're able to just use this bit of fat to continue frying the rest of our ingredients. And you want to actively be looking out for opportunities like this to avoid having to add more oil to your pan when you're frying your fried rice. Then add in the golden rice and press it in to break up the clumps. You're basically cooking each individual grain of rice so that it dries out a little bit and gets really loose and fluffy in the final dish. And when you see the grains of rice almost dancing around in the pan, it's good to go and you can add in all the veggies and the salt. Then just mix in the cut up chicken thighs from earlier. If it wasn't fully cooked before, this is where you want to cook it for a little bit longer. Once that's mixed through, turn the heat off and mix in the chopped cilantro. Immediately serve and you'll have yourself a really vibrant bowl of golden fried rice. Flavor-wise, I appreciate how this dish is a little bit lighter than the traditional fried rice. Since we're only relying on the salt, you can really taste all of the veggies and appreciate the vibrant colors of this meal. And that's all from me, 3 different ways to make fried rice. I hope this inspired you with some flavor combinations, and once you get comfortable with it, you can create your own as well. Go check out some more of my single serving meals, and thanks so much for watching.